Good evening, everyone. Now it's time to call to order the regular Planning Commission meeting for this evening. At this time, please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair. Commissioner Uva?
Present.
Commissioner Dorothy?
Present.
Vice Chair Ortiz?
Present.
And Chair Owens?
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. This is the time set aside for oral communication from the Planning Commission. Does any commissioner wish to make an announcement or report on a conference or meeting or request items for a future agenda? Commissioner Duarte?
No answers for me.
Vice Chair Ortiz?
I do have one question for staff. If they can just give me a little information. I've been hearing a lot of chatter about this taco restaurant. I don't know if there's any update or anything we need to know about.
Yes, there's been a little bit of an issue. Is it the restaurant on Telegraph? Yeah. Tacos Don Goyo is the restaurant located on Telegraph just west of Lakewood Boulevard. It's an existing non-conforming use that's located in that space. It's a very small space. It's not within the Planning Commission's purview or jurisdiction because it is an existing non-conforming use. They haven't ceased operation. If they cease operation and try to restart the use, then they would have to comply with all of the city's standards for any type of restaurant, including parking, all of the facilities, and making sure that all of the dining complies with building code. Right now, that's not the case of that location. Again, it is non-conforming, so there are certain rights that they do have. There is a conflict, again, because the non-conforming use has become popular more so than prior businesses that were doing the same use at that location. So the city has been working with the residents, with the police department, with Public Works, to try to find a resolution to that. And there's a few things that are being considered at the moment. But right now, none of those items come before the Planning Commission's jurisdiction. If there's a request to modify, to add on, or to do anything that would modify the use, then it might bring it into the Planning Commission's jurisdiction, and it would be an application set for a public hearing before you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Uva?
Nothing for me.
And none from me, thank you. Does the Interim Community Development Director have any changes to this evening's agenda?
No changes.
Does the Interim Community Development Director have any presentations?
No presentations tonight.
And does the Interim Community Development Director have a report on City Council actions?
No report tonight.
Thank you. Okay, now is the time set aside for public hearing for the site plan review, conditional use permit, and zone change application PLN-22-00044. Does the Deputy City Clerk have proof of publication?
Yes, Chair, I have it here.
Will the Interim Community Development Director introduce the staff that's making this presentation?
Tonight, our Senior Planner, Alfonso Hernandez, will give that presentation.
Good evening, Chair Owens, members of the Planning Commission. Tonight you'll be considering a site plan review, conditional use permit, and zone change for an existing Burger King. The applicant is Jacob Brumel. This is an aerial of the subject property outlined in red. It is located at 10014 Paramount Boulevard, just northeast of the intersection of Florence Avenue and Paramount Boulevard. Here's a segment of the city zoning map. The property is found within the C2 zone. The properties to the north, south, and west are also zoned C2 and developed with commercial uses. To the east are R1 zone properties developed with single-family homes. Here's an image of what the site looks like today. The total size of the lot is 18,896 square feet. There is one building on site. It is 2,517 square feet, and it was built in 1984. The current tenant is Burger King. The restaurant operates with the CUP. I'm sorry, the restaurant currently operates without a CUP. There are three parts of this application. First, a site plan review is required because the applicant is proposing changes to the building's facade. Here's a rendering showing the proposed design of that building. Here's the front elevation. There's a significant mix of materials. The primary material is sand finished stucco in a beige color. The accent materials are a red tile, wood siding, and brick veneer. A red band will be surrounding the top, front, and side elevations. Lastly, metal canopy awnings will be installed above the entrances and all windows. Here's a view of the entrance from the side at the top of the screen and the view of the side of the building along the drive-through at the bottom of the screen. The second part of the application is for a conditional use permit. A CUP is required in order for the business to continue to operate with the drive-through. Here is the site plan with the drive-through outlined in red. To the left of the screen is the front of the property facing Firestone Boulevard. The property and business was previously approved without a CUP in 1984 because at the time one wasn't required. The objective of the new CUP is to bring the use into conformity as much as possible. This will apply conditions similar to the newer drive-throughs that we approved recently. The hours of operation will be 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. Noise from the speakers will be reduced from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and also 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. The queue length is 5 vehicles, and in the event that there's overflow to that queue, the site will be required, or the business rather, will be required to monitor with cones and traffic monitors. The last part of the application is for a zone change. 46 feet of the rear portion of the property is currently zoned parking buffer. The parking buffer designation will be removed and the entire site will now be C2. And before I conclude my presentation, there's been a change to the resolution. On section 5 of the resolution on page 5, it now includes wording that the city council must approve this project in order for this to go into effect, and I'll read that into the record now. So section 5, based upon the findings set forth in sections 1 through 4 of this resolution, the Planning Commission of the City of Downey hereby approves the site plan review and conditional use permit subject to this resolution, which shall not be effective unless and until the City Council's adoption of an ordinance effectuating a zone change of the subject property from PB parking buffer to C2 general commercial. And said zone change is effective pursuant to state and local law. And with this resolution further subject to the conditions of approval attached hereto as Exhibit A, conditions which are necessary to preserve the health, safety, and general welfare of the community and enable the Planning Commission to make the findings set forth in the previous sections. The conditions are fair and reasonable for the accomplishment of these purposes. And with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez. So at this time, I'll ask of the Planning Commission, do you have any questions of staff? Vice Chair?
I have none.
Thank you. Commissioner Uva?
I have none.
Commissioner Duarte?
I have none.
And I have none. Thank you. Before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or his or her representative, this would be the time for planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visit or pre-hearing discussions that the commissioners may have had about the project. Commissioner Ortiz?
I have none.
Commissioner Uva?
None.
Commissioner Duarte?
None.
And I have none. Thank you. Public hearing is now open. Will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward to give testimony?
Hello, Chairman.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you, everybody, for having me here today. So the remodel is the new brand standard for Burger King across the country. As you know, it was originally developed in the 80s. So we want to bring the Burger King up to the current decade, right, for the betterment of not only the guests but the employees that are working at the Burger King. So we plan to do the work in the best craftsmanship possible and represent the community appropriately in the proper way.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition to the application? You can sit now.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. That's a big undertaking they're going to do there. Maybe it's time for that to be done. However, there's a property of the old Bank of America right next to it, and that's going to be in between the new chicken restaurant, and then it'll be in between the Burger King. That'll be there. There's going to be obviously some issues with the parking and the spillover from the restaurants. It might be a problem as far as safety-wise go. It looks like a good plan. It's a big undertaking. Good luck. If you're going to worry about getting up to date, you ought to start remembering the Whopper Juniors were a lot bigger than they are now. These are like little sliders you have going now. So you might want to really work on that first before you worry about how it looks or anything. Your product needs to be what it used to be. Thank you very much. Good luck with it.
Podium's over there, sir.
Is the mic on? Yeah, I think. Okay. Mike Greenspan, the Jew who's not going back to Florida, you anti-Semitic, anti-Christ Catholics. Burger King, out of Miami, speaking of Florida, 1954, it's as old as me. Home of the Whopper. Well, maybe home of the puny burger. Keeps getting smaller, smaller, smaller. He's right. And the price keeps getting bigger, bigger, bigger. And now that we got this new thing with the fast food thing, and basically it's a setup for the union to unionize, the prices are going up, 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 and the portions are going down, down, down. Other than that, it's an interesting idea. Now, you're finally doing something that goes back to 2008. What's that zoning called? Parking buffer. Well, I mean, there's going to be some parking spaces because the buffer, it's still got parking. Gee, you guys only take 14 years to update your zoning, and you're the planning commission, and this is something that got legislated out in 2008. Couldn't it have been done back then in 2008? No, you'd wait and do nothing, and then what happens? Well, finally, you're going to change something. Well, have it your way. I'm sure money has changed hands around here in order to do it. Now, Burger King's great. A lot of them take EBT. You know, people like me, email, you web snobs, I'm on EBT, so Burger King is there to feed some of us. We can't all go to the fancy restaurants like the attorneys like Blanca or Blanca or Langer or their friend Han. No, we are more Burger King kind of people. So this thing hopefully will be done right. It's too bad that your zoning never got it up to date until you finally get a property. It should have been properly done back 14 years ago. Any attorney worth their weight would have told you that, but I guess this friend of Kuehl from West Hollywood, well, those people are snoots and they don't go to Burger King anyway. They would rather go to, Spago's or whatever, so they're looking down upon this because those are lowly people that go to Burger King. What kind of riffraff, folks? You folks don't go to those places. You wouldn't know what they look like. But hey, I used to go to a lot of Burger Kings when skipping school at lunchtime. And glad I did. Thank you.
Stay. Well, good evening, everyone. Control yourself back there. Get your Whopper in place. Well, since we're in discussion about a Burger King restaurant, I come to a conclusion. These permits need to be waived so that Burger King can make the greatest effort to establish itself where it plans to be selling and flopping burgers. Does that not make sense? Doesn't that make sense? To me, it does. And since we're getting through a pandemic, and as your dumb, asshole, stupid fucking president said, we're no longer in a COVID, he should check himself before making that assumption. So I'm all in support of the 10014 Paramount Boulevard Burger King restaurant with, in note, exemption of those added conditions that you're overcharging them to establish a business. What kind of shit is that? Our job is to bring business into Downey and make money and fuck everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I was thinking of Ola Restaurant, OLA for the record. But no, this has to do with PLN 220044 for site plan review on a conditional use permit zone change. And I would like a motion to go back to council to waive those additional permit costs and allow the existing Burger King restaurant to finish the job and start flopping burgers and bring our children from Downey and that other school down the street and start selling burgers. What's so hard about that? Don't be caught up in the stupidity of that. Just as you heard, although this is not on topic, I'm here about the tacos Don Goyos, or as they would put it, Gaucho Grill to some, as they may not put it. But I'm going to submit this stuff because I don't have time to lollygag with all this information, but I'll put into record the case. 20 PSCV 00548 for the record, Madam Interim City Attorney, because this has to do why businesses are getting fucking tossed out of our state. Because assholes like you keep putting conditions and permit use the way to run a fucking business. You let people sell shit on the sidewalk and streets without permits. You let people sell shit on the sidewalk and street without a burger permit. What the fuck? A dog in a bun is close as a hot dog to a hamburger. So waive those costs, waive those permits, and I demand that we put on motion for the next hearing that doing with Don Goyo's restaurant. And that's on the record tonight. I want to see it on the next agenda. Thank you. Here you go, ma'am. Mommy Hans, matter of fact, in that beautiful picture there for the record.
Madam Deputy City Clerk, has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition?
No correspondence.
Thank you. Does the applicant care for rebuttal time?
I feel like I do need to mention that our burgers are the biggest in the industry. The Whopper's 4.4 ounce patty, bigger than any of our competitors. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Does the planning staff have a recommendation?
Yes, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving a site plan review and conditional use permit and a resolution recommending that the City Council approve a zone map amendment.
Thank you. It's now time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss this item? Commissioner Ortiz?
None. I am excited for the projects coming forward there.
All right. Commissioner Uva?
I agree. It looks like a really nice improvement.
Commissioner Duarte?
I'm in favor, and they got the biggest patty, so.
Me as well. It's a nice redo of a good standing, long-standing, quality restaurant. Thank you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to pass PLN-22-00044.
I'll second it.
All right. So at this time, could the secretary please set us up for a vote?
The motion passes 4-0 to approve The motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN 22-00044 for a site plan review, conditional use permit, and zone change application as amended. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
At this time, I would like to remind the applicant that the action of the Planning Commission will be final unless the matter is appealed to the City Council with the appropriate fee within the next 15-day period as set forth in the city's municipal code. Thank you. Now is the time set aside for public hearing for special event permit PLN 22-00115. Does the Deputy City Clerk have proof of publication?
Yes, Chair.
Will the interim Community Development Director introduce the staff that's making this presentation?
Our principal planner, Guillermo Arriola, will be giving this presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. The applicant, Warren High School, is requesting approval of their annual Carnival fundraiser. Takes place at 8151 De Palma Street, right off of Paramount, and will take place at the southwesterly parking lot of the campus. The campus includes a total of 525 parking spaces available for the event and are distributed throughout the campus. The event will take place September 23rd through Sunday, September 25th. The hours of operation are Friday, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday, 1 p.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Setup for the carnival begins Thursday, tomorrow, no earlier than 4 p.m. to give everyone an opportunity to leave the school. Cleanup begins Sunday night at 10 p.m. and ends at midnight. Cleanup and removal of all equipment resumes on Monday at 6 a.m. with cleanup and breakdown activities complete by noon. The DRC reviewed this project. The departments provided standard conditions of approval. The police department, as they did for the previous event, requires 2 police officers Friday through Saturday from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. and Sunday 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., as well as 2 Warren High School security personnel, as well as 4 licensed security guards for the duration of the event. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ariel. I have one question I'll take the privilege and ask ahead of everyone else. So 8 total, is that what I count? 8 total security personnel?
Yes, 2, yes, 8, sorry.
Looks like 4, 2, and 2, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So Commissioner Ortiz, any question of staff?
I'm done. Same as every other year, right? No questions.
Commissioner Uva, questions?
No questions.
And Commissioner Duarte, questions?
None for me either.
And I asked mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or his or her representative, this would be the time for planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visit or pre-hearing discussion that the commissioners may have had about the project. Anyone? Commissioner Uva?
None.
Commissioner Ortiz?
None.
And Commissioner Duarte?
None.
And I have none. Thank you. Public hearing is now open. Will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward to give testimony? Hi.
Hi, I'm Samantha Miyahara. I'm the athletic director at Warren High School. We are really looking forward to the opportunity to bring back the carnival. We haven't been able to host the carnival since 2019, but prior to the shutdown, it had been an annual event for us. It's a wonderful fundraiser for our athletic department, and more importantly, it's a great community event. It's great to see our elementary and middle school families come to our campus and enjoy just a fun-filled evening with their families. So we're hoping that this goes through. We're looking forward to being able to host it again.
Great. Thank you. Madam Secretary, has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition?
Mr. Chairman, we have received none.
Thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor or opposition of this application?
Yeah, the athletic department does need help. It's always good to have a good fundraiser like a carnival. I think there should be an amendment to this. I think the city should fork over $50,000 for this event. If you're going to give $30,000, $80,000, $25,000 to these other groups that come in here and petition for this city council that we have, and they're getting the funds, Warren High School needs 50 grand to help their athletic department. Now, I mean, I'm not worried whether they're going to cower and not say, we don't want it, we don't need it. No, the city council and the planning commission should amend this and award them $50,000 as a donation. There's no reason why to let all these other groups, which are really racist organizations and LGBT organizations, Stay Gallery, I mean, they still claim that Downey residents are occupying this territory of indigenous Indian tribes. How absurd. How absurd. We have council people saying this, and it's right in their website too. Look under land acknowledgement. This is unceded territory. And we're gonna give them 25, 30,000. They even make a proposal for $530,000 for 3 years. Absolutely absurd. So let's award Warren High School athletics with $50,000. Put it in there.
Mike Greenspan, is it on? Yeah. Mike Greenspan, the Jew who won't go back to Florida. You anti-Semitic, anti-Christ Catholics in beautiful downtown Burbank. Well, this thing's happened. Suddenly COVID came along. And of course, back in July of 2020, Joe Biden said 120 million people had died of coronavirus worldwide. So of course, that's a reason to cancel a festival like that. Even though it's not true, people are very delusional. Of course, with all those parking spaces, a lot of good things happen in those cars. After all, the teenagers want to have something to drink, and they can't do it in public, so let's go to the car and sneak a drink, a shot of tequila or something. Who knows what they've got in there? Oh, come on, I remember as a teenager, it was more fun to drink when you were underage than when you were of age. So this will be a nice place for them to get drunk and maybe do some drugs, some legal pot, even though they're under 21. Some other drugs. I hope they stay away from those street drugs with the fentanyl, because we really don't want the rescue coming out and trying to revive people and then sending them over there to Kaiser. And Kaiser's a butcher shop, fronting as a hospital because of people like the Fromettas. Other than that, it should be an interesting thing, the festival. And then also the cars will be a great place for a guy to fuck the chick, be it his girlfriend or someone else's girlfriend. It'll be away from everything. And no one will know. You only got 8 people watching over things, and who knows how many people are going to be there. But it should be a fun time. And then Warren High School, conveniently located down the street from Warren, is an abortion clinic. Oh no, that's a Jewish Dr. Vacuum Cleaner. You're putting it in your pussy. I'm being aborted. Well, after all, you can't come home knocked up. And at least Warren is very convenient to the abortion clinic. So when some guy wants to get some nookie and doesn't want to take a shower with a raincoat on, he's got an outlet. The abortion clinic, very conveniently located to Warren High School. You couldn't have a better location for an abortion clinic than a high school with all the teens. And they don't want mommy and daddy to know that their daughter got knocked up. So put that vacuum cleaner in and get rid of the evidence. Because, you know, kind of like prom night, this thing's going to be a source of illegitimacy and everything else. And for the record,
Here we go. We're back on item PLN 22-00115 for the special event permit. Well, I'm not against 3-day carnivals. They're actually good for our mental health, and that's been a topic for an entire week now. And teachers are getting their mental health treatments and yoga and Pilates or whatever the shit you call it. But hey, I believe the first speaker was right. The first speaker was right. If we can give money away to donors and pay to play with donations, why can't we give Warren $50,000 to pay for some of the costs of this 3-day carnival and waive some of those costs that go to those 8 security and bring in Downey Police Department? Why can't we do that? And the other important question brought up by that Chucky guy that was back there facing you or facing me, he brought a good point. The ex-mayor, Ms. Frometa, loves to talk about Kaiser and the greatness about Kaiser, but why not can Kaiser put a small little clinic there in case someone has an episode of taking too many drugs at the carnival, or they get slipped with a roofie, a fentanyl, and they get sick, and the longer you wait, the sooner they die. The quicker they die, matter of fact. Ask the city attorney interim, she'll know. She's heard of cases like this, I believe. And if not, then she knows I'm right. Donors and donations and pay to play, it's all a racketeering scam. You're not improving the quality of life in Downey or for the children, but you're giving us a carnival. And I'm in support of that. I recall when my single mother brought me up and told me, go to the goddamn carnival and don't get lost, because I'll come looking for you and whip your ass. Find your way home before it gets dark. And I abided by those rules. And a similar situation, I'm going to read it into the record. It says, the Times analyst found that at least 50 people who received permits contributed either to Alex Villanueva, the first campaign for sheriff, or his current bid for re-election. Now, how am I tying this in? Well, I talked about donors and donations. So if we could support State Gallery that doesn't give a shit of art to put into our Downey schools, especially like Warren High School, then I tell you what we do. We allocate $50,000 to give to Warren to buy and improve some of the sport activities of instruments or maybe footballs and basketballs and things that children can't afford. And let's go on with the 3-day carnival and celebrate. That way I brought my special note. I don't know if some of you can see it, but it's for the mayor. Thank you.
Ms. Miyahara, would you like to have rebuttal time? Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Does the planning staff have a recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution approving the special event application permit.
All right. It is now time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the Commission have any questions at this time, or would the Commission like to discuss the item? Commissioner Ortiz.
I'm excited to approve this, even though I'm a USC fan.
And Commissioner Uva, state your school and affiliation. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I have nothing to say other than best of luck, and I hope it's very successful.
Now, to my right, you do have a UCLA alumnus, so.
Yeah, so I was on the fence
Commissioner
because
Duarte.
I was on the fence because I'm a Downey High grad, but she's wearing the right shirt, so I'm definitely for it.
Thank you. I as well. All right, this time I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to pass PLN -22-00115.
Madam Secretary, could you set us up for a vote, please? Or did we get a second? Did we get a second?
Second?
Thank you. Okay, we have the motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN 22-00115 for a special event permit.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to remind the applicant that the action of the Planning Commission will be final unless the matter is appealed to the City Council with the appropriate fee within the next 15-day period as set forth in the city's municipal code. Thank you. Now is the time set aside for public hearing for the conditional use permit PLN-22-00046. Does the Deputy City Clerk have proof of publication?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Will the interim community development director introduce staff making this presentation?
The presentation for this item will be given by Assistant Planner Abraham Luna.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. The item before you tonight is a request for a conditional use permit to allow for a full body massage establishment at 7444 Florence Avenue, Suite G, Zone C2, General Commercial. The subject site, highlighted in yellow, is located at the southeast corner of Florence Avenue and Old River School Road. The site is currently improved with a single-story multi-tenant commercial building with a total of 8 tenants. The application is proposed to locate within a 1,165 square foot tenant space as shown in red on the aerial image. The areas to the east, northwest are all within the same C2 zone and with similar uses and residential R1 uses to the south of the subject site. With regards to on-site parking, there are an overall 54 parking spaces and is sufficient to meet the required parking demand for the existing uses and the proposed massage establishment. The proposed floor plan for the establishment will contain a lobby area, 5 massage rooms, all equipped with sink areas, massage tables, and clean linen cabinets, 2 offices, laundry room, storage room, shower, and 2 existing restrooms with 1 ADA compliant restroom. The proposal satisfies all facility and operating requirements for a massage establishment. During our DRC meeting, the police department provided comments reiterating that all employees are required to obtain a proper license and/or police permit before any operation or practice. As such, staff has included conditions in the resolution addressing such items, in addition to all standard comments provided by other departments. This concludes staff presentation. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Does the Planning Commission have any questions of staff? Vice Chair?
I have none either.
Ms. Uva?
Do you happen to know how many types of establishments like this we have in Downey?
A certain number off the top of my head, I would say 5 or 6.
Okay, so it's just a few. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
And Commissioner Duarte, questions of staff?
No questions of staff.
I have none either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or his or her representative, this would be the time for the planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visit or pre-hearing discussion that the commissioners may have had about the project. Vice Chair?
I have none.
Commissioner Uva?
None.
Commissioner Duarte?
None also.
I have none. Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward to give testimony and tell us about the project? Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Tell us about what your plan is. You're going to request to open up this establishment. Tell us how you have experience, if you would, and if you have any other locations.
Yeah, I have almost 40 years experience this kind of business since 1983 to last year. I closed the last year, and also I have all kind of license, like a school diploma and California Massage Association license. And also I know very well to handle that business. And I don't have any problem last since that 40 years.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition? You can see, please.
No correspondence, Mr.
Thank you.
Owens.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this application?
I don't know. I thought I was reading some of that in there that it was possibly going to be for like rehabilitations and things too. So I'm not sure. Maybe that can be clarified, but you know, people do need rehab and stuff. I mean, you can have enough of it at Downey Community, PIH, Kaiser, and there are other groups that they farm it out to. But if it could be also rehabilitation, I think maybe you could stipulate that and bring it up, at least talk about it and consider it there. Otherwise, if nobody has any problems with it, hey, go ahead and bring it on. Thank you.
Mike Greenspan, and I'm still staying here. I'm not going back to Florida. So get all those Antichrist Catholic churches out to hang the Jew who won't go back to Florida. Now, when you think of massage, you have all kinds of connotations about it in your mind. Now, after all, I was there at the federal court hearing. We know Mitchell Englander. He was the one on Sean Ashton's Association of Independent Cities Board of Directors. And he always skipped the meetings because he had to go get bribe money in Las Vegas from the developers. Nothing like a crooked pig, a part-time pig. And why do I mention this? Because he didn't just get money bribes. He got a hotel room, free liquor, and an escort. Or, as the federal prosecutor called it, an escort masseuse. Gee, I wonder what kind of person that was in that hotel room that night with Englander. Whatever it was, he lied to the FBI and therefore found himself looking at prison. And when he came out of the courtroom, the Jew boy weasel was having his wife hold his hand, Jane Englander. I guess that redneck philosopher that told me when I was a kid, most women love dirty jokes. They marry them. And, you know, you got your Mrs. Newt Gingrich's and Mrs. Jimmy Swaggart's, to the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart. I'm sure they'll love this place. And Mrs. Englander, that blonde. Well, her hair's gray now from all the stress. And I remember his wife's holding his hand, and they're trying to duck away from myself and Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler, Mr. Gus, and people from the neighborhood. And I hollered, "Looky there, his wife's holding his hand, the hand that rubbed his escort's pussy in Las Vegas." You see, the escort, masseuse, a lot of these massage parlors are just fronts for bordellos. And until you prove otherwise, I just don't believe that they are legitimate businesses. Oh, they are legitimate business for a place to go get your, to pop your nuts, to get a nut. But as far as a real massage, well, call the Clanner Baptist minister. I'm an unbeliever, par excellence. I'm sure we'll see Englanders and Swaggarts and Gingriches and all kinds, maybe even Mark Sanford. But who knows what this place has to offer? Probably no good.
Wow. I don't know if I can beat that, but the proposition of a new full body massage. Well, you know, I had that full body massage experience. Matter of fact, it was done up here in the old promenade area there, right by I believe it's Harbor Freight in Downey. That was the best feeling in my life. It's too bad it wasn't from a woman, but best feeling in my life. Not that I'm saying that my proposition that a man can't do a better job than a woman, but I'm just saying, you know, a fucking faggot like me deserves a full body massage. And I'm here in support of this nice Asian speaking lady who came in here asking for our support. I'm here to support her. And whether or not Englander got a massage from an escort, I want a massage, period. Whether it's from a fucking faggot, a fucking Jew going back to Florida, or some fucking nigger named Armando Herman stepping on your back while his feet are burning. Or being rubbed with some rocks. Or put some glass with some heat as suction cups on your back. Or maybe take a hot towel and rub it all over your body and make you feel good with some oil. I've never experienced it, but I sure how would like to know how good it feels coming from someone other than that fucking Englander guy that the second gentleman with the Chucky mask was talking about. Because if I was his wife, I would have beat the shit out of him. You got a pair of hands, have your old lady or your significant partner massage you, but don't fuck up the full body massage establishment. All they're trying to do is generate business and create a job for people who need a job. That's a proposition. Now in my hand, I'm submitting into the record a proposition because I put on it PL number 220046, in which is my public comment adding to this proposition. Because there's other ways to skin a cat or wind and twine information like I've been doing in the past when I brought in, you know, the DOJ with the $22 million access improvements for ADA. Wasn't that a great deal I did for you guys in Downey? That was a hell of a deal. And I didn't get a massage. I was hoping to get massage. Instead, DOJ, the Civil Rights Division of ADA, massaged you. They walked a full body massage up and down Mr. Livas at the time, the city manager, and told the asshole, we need full body massages so an asshole like you can improve our community. And I'm here to support PLN 220046 for the record. Thank you.
Ms. Kim, would you like to say anything else? Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. Does the planning staff have a recommendation?
Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution and approve conditional use permit PLN 220046.
It is now the time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Vice Chair Ortiz.
I have none. Thank you, Chair.
And Commissioner Uva.
None.
Commissioner Duarte.
None.
And I have none. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
I motion to pass PLN-22-000046.
Second.
Say that to the mic, sir, please.
Madam Secretary, call for the vote. Thank you.
Right here a second.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN 22-00046 for a conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to remind the applicant that the action of the Planning Commission will be final unless the matter is appealed to the City Council with the appropriate fee within the next 15-day period as set forth in the city's municipal code. Thank you. Now is the time set aside for public hearing for the zone text amendment PLN-22-00107. Does the Deputy City Clerk have proof of publication?
Yes, Chair, I do.
Thank you. Will the interim Community Development Director introduce staff making this presentation?
Our Principal Planner, Guillermo Arreola, will be giving this presentation.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Before you is Zone Text Amendment PLN 22-00107, which established historic preservation standards in the city of Downey. The purpose of the ordinance is to protect known historic resources in the city that have been listed in the National Register of Historic Places and the California Register of Historic Resources, with the goal of preserving and ensuring the continued availability of these resources for future generations. The ordinance establishes minimum maintenance standards, which require that an owner of a historic resource has a duty to maintain in good repair all exterior and interior features of a historic resource. The ordinance establishes creates review procedures and criteria for any proposed alteration to a historic resource. It includes findings for approval for a certificate of appropriateness. The ordinance defines major and minor projects. Major projects include alteration of a historic resource, removal of character-defining features, additions to primary elevations, additions of heights greater than that of the existing building. Major projects require Planning Commission review. Minor projects include demolition or removal of non-character defining exterior features, alteration that does not change the exterior character defining features of a historic resource, including re-roofing, in-kind replacement of deteriorated exterior features, replacement windows and doors matching the size, design, and materials of the originals, and any undertaking not requiring a permit that materially alters character-defining features of a historic resource or that may have an adverse effect on the significance of a historic resource, including resurfacing exterior finishes, for example, plaster cement and a radically different texture than was originally applied, or cleaning and painting of masonry. Minor projects are reviewed administratively and are reviewed by the city planner. The ordinance establishes application procedures for economic hardship waivers, which ensures that denial of a certificate of appropriateness does not create any undue hardship upon the owner. And the ordinance also establishes appeal procedures of the city planner and the Planning Commission's decisions, which can be found in the municipal code. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Arreola. So I'll take privilege again. I have a question. Currently, do we have an inventory of those properties or those places in the city?
There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 locations in the city that are you can find in the National Register and the California Register of Historic Resources.
Got it. And the secondary question, does this grandfather, any current projects that are being dealt with or being, remodeled, refurbished, or does it initiate after an action is taken by council on this item?
Mr. Chair, if I may, it would be retroactive. So it would apply to all historic resources throughout the city, regardless of what their current status is. As a follow-up to your earlier question, the city has made reference to the National Historic Register, and we will be bringing a resolution before you at the next Planning Commission meeting so that we can officially recognize those sites, and we'll have that on record.
Oh, great, thank you. Thank you. So at this time, I'll go down the list. Vice Chair, questions of staff.
I do have one question. One of my other questions was asked, but can you go in a little more detail with what was it? The waiver that you give?
Sure, the economic hardship?
Yes,
sure.
Please. Can you give me a little more information about that? Maybe I just didn't understand quite What does that entail?
If there's a denial or certificate of appropriateness, the applicant does have the opportunity to apply for an economic hardship waiver in case let's say an application is denied. The cost of that denial, the applicant has the ability to apply for an economic hardship waiver, and the ordinance does include a very detailed list of those items that would be required to be submitted to show proof that a denial of an application would cause undue economic hardship on an applicant.
So if it was denied and they apply for this economic waiver, who decides that they get this waiver?
Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission?
Yes, sir.
That's the only question I have.
And Commissioner Uva, questions of staff.
No, those were my two questions, so they've been answered.
Commissioner Ortiz, questions. I'm sorry, Dorothy.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Long day, brain fade. Excuse me. Pardon me.
Two of my questions have been asked. Just a bit. The question I had is, how is this different than any previously amendment or regulations we had? Because I know when we had the Reeves Mansion project, there was a lot of regulations that had to be met in that project. So I just want to see does this substantially change the way we deal with historic sites in Downey or not?
Well, first of all, we don't have an ordinance in the city, so we don't have any mechanisms to specifically deal with them. So this ordinance will now help us address all known historic resources in the city with an ordinance in place. And as Ms. Landavaso said, it's retroactive and would include, for example, Reeves Mansion.
Reeves Mansion project. Okay, thanks.
Can I jump on that one question in regards to that?
Sure.
Just for clarification, using Reeves Mansion as an example, they got, I think, 120 conditions, right? So how did they get those conditions if there was no ordinance?
If I may answer that question, this would provide a little more uniformity to that, and that was part of the issue with the Reeves Mansion. It is a known historical resource within the city. We did not at the time have a historic preservation ordinance in place, so a lot of those conditions were created to try to preserve that historic resource, since there wasn't something that uniformly applied throughout the city. This would create a standardization of how those properties are maintained, and there would be uniformity for any future applications coming forward.
Thank you. And I have one follow-up question to that. So on the retroactivity, can that applicant come back and ask or request through this ordinance economic relief on some of those previous conditions?
The process would be that he would have to apply for a certificate of appropriateness first. If it's denied, then he would apply for a waiver.
Got it. Thank you.
Have you? Sorry.
Please.
Another follow-up question. Have we reached? What? Yes. Sorry. If we reached out already, for example, the Reeves Mansion, I mean, they haven't done any major development. I don't know if you guys haven't noticed, but maybe we can reach out to them in regards to this waiver.
That's part of the resolution that'll be coming before you next. So we do want to give due process to all of the property owners for those locations. That's why it wasn't included in tonight's ordinance. We want to give proper notification to all of those property owners and identify that they will be identified on the resolution, which will make them subject to this ordinance. They'll be free and invited to come to the next Planning Commission hearing. They can share their thoughts, ideas, if they have any other concerns, and that can all be heard before they are officially added to that list.
And if staff may, can they provide those 7 historic resources to email?
Are they in our?
Or they're in our file?
Are they in? No.
No, I don't believe that it was part of your packet, again, because we want to give proper due process to those property owners. But we will be reaching out to them, and it will be on the resolution. It'll all be provided as part of the Planning Commission agenda at the next scheduled meeting.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think I want to go one time around again with any questions of staff. Commissioner Duarte, prompt any other questions?
No, no questions.
Commissioner Uva, any additional questions?
No.
And Commissioner Ortiz?
None.
And I have none. Thank you very much. Before I open the public hearing and call the applicant or his or her representative, I guess we don't have an applicant? All right. So open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. With no applicant, there's no testimony. Is there any correspondence in favor or opposition?
Staff has
Wouldn't
not
be
received
any.
any correspondence.
Wouldn't be any, okay. And would there be anyone like to stand in favor or opposition of this item?
I would be opposing this as an ordinance. What we need is smaller government, less regulations. I'm opposing this this ordinance. It just depends on who's going to start buying up these properties. And I couldn't understand because we didn't flip the page of what the character changing effect was. It wasn't explained clearly. I mean, in some cases, you had an old house that maybe didn't have plumbing. You had to go outside and pump the water out, and maybe had to go out in the middle of the night to an outhouse or whatever. Is that the kind of character changes you were talking about? I don't know. I mean, and then you want to have an exemption for the original owner retroactively. I just don't see why we need more if we're going to keep it a historic character. If you're going to change it, then it's not going to be that entity anymore. You're changing its character and putting regulations on it to change the character. So that wasn't explained. I just was kind of curious about that because it's like this chamber. It holds probably, 200-300 people, but if we put 5,000 people in here, it wouldn't be the Downey City Council chamber anymore. Okay, you kind of see what I'm saying there? So I just think we don't need to get government involved in anything. We want less government and smaller government and fewer regulations. And the only way we're going to get that is if we start having changes in the assembly level and get away from people like our mayor, who is just a marionette of the Democrat Party being run by white, liberal, elitist Democrat Party hacks. And she is just a Conchita on that plantation that is run by the Democrat Party. And we need to have assembly members that are looking to lower our taxes and our regulations everywhere, like Raul Ortiz, the redheaded Mexican guy. He wants to lower our taxes and roll back regulations. Thank you.
Mike Greenspan, and no, I'm not going back to Florida, but Florida holds a lot of historical value from the era. You see, the nation's oldest permanent settlement is in Florida. It's St. Augustine, over 400 years old. Yes, Jamestown is older, but Jamestown is not permanent. I know, I blew that question in my history class. I should have known better. I grew up 35 miles from St. Augustine, and many a Sunday we managed to ride through the historical area of St. Augustine, past the Castillo de San Marcos fort, and we would ride in the buggy past the market. Now, this was not a market where you'd buy produce. It was a market where you bought slaves, because plantations have slaves to them. I guess you Californians don't get that. At least the ones back way down south in Dixie, they have slaves. And I believe that plantation over there at 3rd and Paramount, well, first of all, you're putting a modern building there. So why are we talking this nonsense while we're putting modern buildings on land that have historical value? And of course, let's go back to the era. People didn't drive up in cars. They hadn't invented automobiles, so they came up in their horse and buggies. Maybe we should see the property as horse and buggies only. And let's get rid of the running water because they went outside and pumped the water. And let's get rid of the indoor plumbing because they hadn't invented toilets yet. They had outhouses. And let us also go back to the 3rd and Paramount, and maybe we can put some good old spots of slaves on the property, as all plantations seem to have. Now, we, of course, wouldn't have them from Nathaniel Bedford Forrest because he was out of Tennessee, or Samuel Joshua Gingrich, Newt Gingrich's ancestors, because he sold his slaves in Savannah, or Eric Cantor, the former House Majority Leader out of Virginia. Jacob Cantor sold his slaves in Richmond. But I'm sure we can go find through the history and find a place to go buy some slaves to be on that plantation over there at 3rd and Paramount and take the record ball and knock down that new fucking building. Thank you.
So we're back to the 3rd and Paramount Reeves Mansion. What does this Frederick Douglass got to say about that? Well, the last 4 years I lived in Downey, I was embarrassed to say, yes, this nigger is not going back to Downey. And what's the reason behind that? Well, I'm in opposition. These hardship waivers, why not just get outside donations? Why does it have to come to the hardship of the public to pay for shit that these 8 locations on registry don't show any historic value other than you're wasting your goddamn time saving the past to bring in the future? Like it's like putting a pair of bullshit Levi's with a pair of half-ass cotton pants attached to them as a patch. Doesn't look very well. That's what the fucking idiots in Beverly Hills live like. Scumbags. They think that you all have to have filthy money, mansions to look like 3rd and Paramount. But that's not the case, Junior. You wouldn't know. Have you ever worked in Beverly Hills like I have as a plantation nigger? Doing maintenance and cleaning the niggers' Beverly Hills property? Have you ever gone to Hoover, South Central, and worked those nigger towns like me back in the days when I was a slave? No. Carmela wouldn't know. She drives a fucking nice Mercedes. She's not in a carriage. I ride my burro. Hee-haw! Why? Because I'm here for good repairs. And I want you to define what the hardship waiver money is valued at. Because nowadays, historic buildings cost a lot of goddamn money. Even Frederick Douglass told the government in Washington, you want this nigger to shut up? You put me in a nice job, give me all the books and resources, and I'll leave you white niggers alone too. That's what Frederick Douglass told the white motherfucking Americans. And let's go back to another issue. When I was Native American with my family, pushed out of those 13 colonies far west until to the point when that dumb jackass idiots, the United States Army Cavalry came in and crushed us. Sorry, gentlemen, but this town ain't big enough for us, so you gotta go to Florida. And where did you put the reservation? In Florida. You put the motherfuckers back east after you pushed us out. So get it straight. Frederick Douglass was right. You're all nothing but a white fucking concentration camp of Jew fucking Nazis. Get it right. We don't want hardship waivers. We want you to fix the fucking problems and demand better resources of it. Thank you.
The public hearing is now closed. Does the planning staff have a recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution recommending approval of PLN 22-00107 to the City Council.
Thank you. It's now time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Commissioner Duarte.
No questions.
Vice Chair Ortiz.
One last question, if I may, from the staff. The economic hardship waiver is financial help?
No, what it actually is it takes into account what the economic cost would be or impact would be of preserving the historic resource to the condition required by the Secretary of the Interior. So if they can show, and there's a process that outlines what documentation is needed, that it would be a significant economic hardship, then they can request some alterations that maybe would remove some of the integrities to remove the cost of the overall maintenance of the property.
Thank you. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Uva?
No questions.
And I have none. Thank you. At this time, I entertain a motion.
I do. I motion to pass PLN-22-00107.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Madam Secretary, could we please take the vote? Thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN 22-00107 for a zone text amendment.
Thank you. Now is the time set aside for the public hearing for the site plan review, conditional use permit, and variance application PLN-21-00043. Does the Deputy City Clerk have proof of publication?
Okay. Yes, Chair, I do.
Will the interim Community Development Director introduce staff making this presentation?
Our presentation tonight will be given by Associate Planner Gerardo Marquez.
Good evening, Chair, Commission, members of the audience. The last case before you tonight is PLN 21-00043, which is an application for a site plan review, conditional use permit, and variance. The request is for a proposed 81,915 square foot auto dealership building with roof deck parking, service building, and additional site improvements. Subject site is located at, 11,000 Florence Avenue. As you can see here, the project site highlighted in yellow is a 7-acre site. It's currently vacant. The red outline that you see on the aerial, it outlines the specific plan. Specific plan is named the Florence Avenue I-5 specific plan area. The project site will provide home to a new 81,915 square feet, 2-story car dealership building. Additionally, it will provide for a new 3,456 square foot quick loop service building. This project site, adjacent to the project site to the west and the south, it's the same operator as the for this new car dealership. The existing service to the site, south of the site, will be relocated to the project site and is part of the proposal. Here we show some zoning. As I mentioned before, the site is within the Florence Avenue I-5 specific plan. As you can see, the project site is on the easternmost portion of the city, and just south of it is R1 zoning. The relocation of the service site to the project site will coincide with goals and policies established within the specific plan, which is to move vehicular uses away from residential zones, adjacent residential zones. Here we have a site plan for the proposal. As you can see, the proposed project will be providing landscaping along the perimeter of the site with a prominent landscape and signage feature at the intersection of Studebaker Road and Florence Avenue. As I mentioned before, there would be 2 structures on the building, the 81,115 square foot, 2-story square foot building, and the ancillary 3,456 square foot service building. Here's a floor plan of the first floor. First floor will consist of a showroom area, service center entrance, and the service service/storage area. The service/storage area will consist of auto body, car wash, a vehicle prep area. And as I mentioned before, coinciding with the specific plan, all of these uses and entrances shall be oriented towards Florence and Studebaker Road, away from the south-facing residential area. The second floor will consist of additional showroom and office area. Additionally, the second floor will provide for roof deck parking. This will be employee only and will provide a solar canopy cover. As part of the application, the conditional use permit, I wanted to show this floor plan of the quick loop service structure. In addition to the approximately 35,000 square feet of floor area dedicated within this primary building of service, the additional, the ancillary structure will provide a service area for 12 service bays. Again, all oriented away from the southern residential area. As part of the specific plan, any new development that is proposing car dealership may provide this service use, but they do have to go through this conditional use process. As part of the process, as part of the application, excuse me, the applicant did apply for some variances. Given that there were some offsite improvements that resulted in topography changes and the unique shape of the lot, staff did move forward with this application. The first one at the top right, you can see that a small portion of the building will be encroaching into the front yard setback. Per the specific plan, front yard setback for this type of development is 80 feet. Currently, the applicant is proposing a setback of 54 feet. The unique shape of the lot and the orientation of the building necessitates this, given that there are other vehicular routes and as well as emergency service routes that were provided on site. The second variance component, as you can see on the bottom right, will be a fence height deviation. Again, going back to the changes in topography and the offsite improvements, as you can see, the bottom right shows more or less a section of that street and how there's a significant change in elevation. Even with that change in elevation, the proposed fence will be in line with Florence Avenue at its highest point. Along the bottom, you can see clouded the Dollison entrance. Again, referencing back the offsite improvements. There in the past, there was an entrance along Fairford Avenue, but given the modifications to that area, access through Fairford was no longer achievable. So therefore, the applicant is proposing for an entrance along Dollison. And last but not least, on the top left, excuse me, you'll see a lighting diagram. Sorry, lighting diagram for the proposed lighting at the perimeter of the site. The applicant is proposing 20-foot high fixtures along the perimeter in order to achieve their modern and new design for this development. As you can see, the applicant will be proposing light fixtures that will not provide any type of nuisance to any adjacent buildings, given that the LED type of lighting will provide strict cutoff and will only light the property. Here we see some renderings. As you can see, this is the prominent landscape and signage structure at the intersection of Studebaker and Florence Road. Currently, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to drive by there, but vacant land. So this will be a significant improvement given that this is the first site that you see once you come over that bridge into the city of Downey, right? So the applicant and staff work together to put this together and make sure that you know when you drive into Downey. Keeping in line with the new modern proposal that Honda is having, they are providing a significant amount of glazing, right, which gives it a very prominent feel. It gives, individuals that are passing by a chance to see what's actually going on within the building, which is very inviting. Here we see a close-up of that glazing. Additionally, this is a better view of the service area, again being oriented towards Florence and away from the residential sites to the south. In addition to the glazing, you can see metal paneling that's being proposed, as well with stucco and landscape walls. All right. This project was presented to the Design Review Committee. Standard conditions that coincide with specific development standards within the specific plan were issued by the Planning Department. No other departments expressed concerns or opposition over the project, and standard conditions were issued. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez. Does the Planning Commission have any question of staff? Vice Chair.
I do have one question. This is a great significance and a great upgrade to having a vacant lot. My question though is there like a time for deliveries or pickups? Because I know the last city council meeting, someone did bring up issues that traffic would lead to residential areas, particularly to Crossdale Avenue and Fairfax. So I'm just wondering if we spoke to the residents that live around there, or if there's going to be a set times when deliveries can be happening, because I don't know if I missed that in this conditions.
Mr. Chair, if I may jump in on that, we can ask the applicant when he comes as far as times. I know that there is with the Honda franchise, our corporation itself, there's a set schedule, so he can advise us as to what that time is. If we can go back to the site plan, there was consideration as far as right.
No,
You can see the orientation of the vehicle drop-offs should be entering from Studebaker, as you can see toward the bottom left, right, and that's where all of the unloading would be taking place. Exiting, I believe, should be exiting on Dulles and going up to Fairford Avenue and back up to Florence. So it should not be going further south into the residential areas.
Okay. That's the only question I have for now.
Additionally, we do have a condition within the resolution that calls for all deliveries to take place on site. Nothing can be no deliveries can take place off site.
I did read that one. Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Uva, questions of staff?
Gosh, it's huge improvement from what that corner has been for practically my whole life. So it's really wonderful. There is an existing Honda dealership right there too, right now, right across the street.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is part of their new sort of concept. They will also be within that Honda dealership. They will be providing other products that Honda provides, such as lawnmowers, motorcycles, and other such things.
So it will remain.
It will truly be the Honda world, right?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Precisely. All right, thank you.
And Commissioner Duarte, questions of staff?
No questions at this time.
And I have none either. Thank you. Before I open the public hearing, call the applicant or his or her representative, this would be the time for the planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visits, pre-hearing discussions that the commissioners may have had about the project. Commissioner Duarte?
None for me.
And Commissioner Uva?
None.
Vice Chair Ortiz?
I have none.
And I have none. Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward, tell us about the project?
Well, good evening and good afternoon. Thank you. I'm Mario Biondo, president and owner of Honda World and Turn 2 Automotive Group that owns Honda World, the current facility, the one off of Dollison, and obviously the proposed that you've seen. I, too, am excited about the project. It's been almost 4 years in the making, lots of moving component parts, a significant amount of economic resources. I'd like to applaud your staff that's been doing a fantastic job working with me to do that. I'm proud to say that for our town, this is a brand new Honda facility that globally is being launched here in Downey. That new facility you just saw is the first time it's being seen in public. It is what's called a new blue state design, which is very open. If you've been through and seen Honda dealerships with the big blue kind of can in the front, that is no longer. As a result of that, Honda North America, which is based in Torrance, is going to be supporting us in significant ways to make sure that this is the standard for North America. Along with the headquarters in Japan, we'll be flying in, seeing this when this is done, having a significant amount of, I would say, prominence throughout the globe as this being one of the first ones, especially of this size and magnitude. I do want to say that, we've been in the neighborhood for many, many years. We do obviously want to be great neighbors. We have had in the past concerns that have reached me on my office, and we've worked diligently to want to make sure that we're all great neighbors. I'm a significant owner there too as well, have been there for a long time. I believe this new facility has accounted for anybody or everybody's issues. We understand having a dealership service department in a neighborhood was never going to be something to be long-term. But with the acquisition of this property, which was significant, and the way we've designed this, I think we've taken everything into account. And obviously with you officials making sure that we tried our best to get it done, we've been able to make a significant improvement on making sure that the neighbors are nice and peaceful and quiet. I do want to make sure that there's some clarification up there. If you could maybe put the site plan on. Yeah, so ultimately the way the design is there will only be an entrance for the public to come in through Studebaker Road and Florence Avenue. I want you to know that currently map and algorithms that are on cell phones are what is guiding people into the current service establishments. I've worked through a concerned citizen and neighbor who, I believe at 8:30 in the morning happened to contact you guys, and I readily connected to them within, a matter of minutes. We had a nice positive conversation, and of course, not everybody knows what's happening. And all of our employees have been very good about going a different direction. We've provided signage, and we've done our part to collaborate to make sure things didn't happen. But quite candidly, when the new building is built, all of those algorithms will not be able to go to that location anymore because the new address is Florence Avenue, not Dollison. So a lot of this will resolve itself. I do also want to make clarification too as well that our deliveries are mandated by our factories. They do come in the middle of the night, parts and some drop-offs. They will have access to the site through Studebaker. They will come on site and they have to have an exit out of Dollison Avenue. There's no other way. They cannot back up onto what is a freeway exit. If you're familiar with that street, it'd create accidents galore. And we just can't do that. And unfortunately, as articulated, we cannot have exits out on Fairforth. There's just too much infrastructure there to be able to do that. The other thing too is we need access to the property I still own across the street. I do own 70% of the real estate on there, and we are going to keep that to see how we do when we have some growth plans. I also too just want clarification. Now you see the map. Customers will not have access in to our facility through Dollison. That is an employee-only gate that will be closed. So if somebody happened to make a mistake and try to enter, there's no way to do it. All entrance points for customers will get stopped right at our facility on site. So I want to let you know that too as well, a point of clarification. So thanks for letting me speak. I'll hear if you have any questions.
Great, thank you for your comment. I'll start with Vice Chair Ortiz. Questions?
I think you answered my question. Thank you.
Commissioner Uva, please.
No questions.
Commissioner-
Best of luck on this.
Yeah, thank you. It'll be big for all of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Duarte,
Yeah,
questions?
no questions from me.
I have three.
Awesome. Let's hear 'em.
So I have to shed first a sentimental tear, as I performed a lot of electrical work on the site under the previous Spreen ownership, way back in the day, including the fountain.
Yeah.
So where's the fountain? There's no fountain.
Yeah, so interesting enough, so when we purchased the property from the owners, if you go way back when, right, their family were immigrants, and that was a former, I believe, some type of, field of something. And that fountain, unfortunately, due to being in the elements with nobody on it, ended up rusting itself to the core on the inside. When we ended up having an expert take a look at to see what it was all water jacketed, which means that the steel infrastructure on the inside that actually is supporting it and the concrete stuck to it was all apart. And so, quite candidly, it was a huge liability. If we had some type of seismic activity, it'd fall down. And unfortunately, it was not built with the standards of earthquake-proof opportunities. It was very top-heavy, made of concrete, and the concrete on the top was water-jacketed as well. So it was unfortunately not going to be a survivor. It was ahead of its time. Right? A car sitting on water, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, it wasn't due to standing the test of time, and it proved itself to be really just a hazard. That's why it was down.
Now they also had, and I'll just again share with the whole audience in the room, but they also had a coffee shop that would give a customer prime rib for lunch if you took your Cadillac in there for oil change and filter.
Yeah, when we
Pretty
we
wild.
did see the kitchen, the grease pit, all that stuff was back there. We should have had
Pretty
you come
wild.
and reminisce before it had to get cleaned up.
And then the last thing, so copyrighted, protected, where the freeways meet in Downey, is that going to be part of your slogan?
You know, it's interesting. You know, when we plan on getting this done, I think we want to have some level of historical significance of, hey, how long we've been there, what's been there. In fact, you know, we're making some accommodations to put some, you know, historical significance on the inside of the store, let people know, hey, what's there, you know, because we're the new kids in town, but really just across the street, right? I think, you know, I don't know what the slogan's going to be. I'm going to let the marketing departments figure that out.
Because I also did your site lighting at the Honda dealer in the mid 80s. So
did you?
Long time ago. Yes.
Yeah, very historic. By the way, you know, a bit of a, you know, if you historic, a gentleman named Roger Penske.
Sure.
That was Roger Penske's very first store in California. I have his office, been there for a while now, and he used to fly from Detroit, stay here in Los Angeles, sleep there, take a shower, and make a lot of sales for cars. So yeah, it's a pretty historic place. So I'm glad to own it. Glad to look forward to continue to build it for the future ahead.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
All right. Please.
Thanks.
Thank you. Has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition?
There has been correspondence received in favor, and I believe I gave you a copy of that.
Got it. Thank you. At this time, is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor or opposition of this application?
That was interesting. Just watching people capitulate their beliefs and ideals to allow a new Honda dealer, which is I'm a capitalist. I like this sort of stuff. They can provide a product at a reasonable price and have some competition. We could purchase those products at a reasonable price. But I didn't hear anybody stand up and say, what about affordable housing on that lot? Nobody. Everybody was just enthralled that, oh, we're going to get some money maybe coming into the city, finally from that decrepit site over there. I mean, we're proposing, we have people proposing taking up Rio Hondo Golf Course to put housing on that, but not this property. No, we couldn't do that. Why not? Where are you now? Where are you now? All you on the Democrat Party plantation, where are you saying and speaking up now? Not one white, liberal, progressive Democrat has stood up and opposed this. And are these going to be fossil fuel powered cars? Oh, no, we can't do that, huh? Well, fossil fuels is the only thing that's going to keep us sustained as a society. Wind and solar isn't going to do it. Electric cars aren't going to do it. But nobody is standing up and saying a word. Not a one of you. Not a one. That's just amazing. I was just enthralled by the whole thing. But I kind of like it, you know. They're going to use the adjacent property for other things too, and going to improve and have some progress. But where are your protests for affordable housing? That's right, silence. Not a word. Everybody capitulated, just like you always do. So when the white liberal elitists like Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff and Gavin Newsom, when they tell you to get out there and pick their cotton, you get out there and pick their cotton.
Mike Greenspan, and I'm staying here in California just to be a pain in the ass to everybody, because I'm not going back to Florida, no matter how many Antichrist Catholic churches tell me, go back to Florida, you Jew. Well, let me expand upon the housing issue, because Carson came up with something, and because of COVID, they couldn't really have a celebration, but they had something called Veterans Village. 1,000 people applied, and they have 54 housing units. Now, what about the other 946? Maybe, they said, the person in Carson said, the politician said, every community should have one like this. Well, this would be a great site for it. You got housing. So why not another 50 to 60 veteran housing units on the property? Now, I've kind of nicknamed this thing Smog City. All the concentrations from all the vehicles, let's spew some more smog in the neighborhood. And then the lighting. Yeah, let's be a nuisance to the neighbors with the lighting. Keep people up at night. After all, we do things for businesses. Fuck the people. The people be fucked. Or how did Cornelius Vanderbilt say it? The public be damned. That was a nicer form of it. Well, it sounds great, but there are problems with it. Maybe there's better sites for such a thing. And what about 2035 when we're not selling any new fossil fuel powered vehicles? Will this be converting over to electric as planned by that dickhead governor, Gavin Newsom, who should have been recalled but wasn't? Nancy Pelosi's spoiled brat nephew. Of course, they're the Pelosi's and the Newsoms and all the others on the liberal Democratic plantations, they're going to have new from other states fossil fuel cars, because fuck the electric, it's not going to work. But we aren't looking, we're just looking at now. And let's be a pain. Remember, it's surrounded by a lot of residences, and they're not going to want those lights on all night. And when the deliveries are made at a late hour, we're going to keep them up. So this is a wonderful project if you want to fuck up a neighborhood. Yeah, it's only the neighbors. They don't amount to anything. Honda's money, and you know the old saying, money talks, bullshit walks. Fuck you.
Runner up. Yep. I'm here in support of the grant for Delusion Drive exit and entry for the 18-wheelers for their delivery. As we all know, fuck the neighbors. That's a great idea. However, I got something greater to talk about when you got a roof deck or dick parking. Because you dick decks have forced other retailers and restaurants forcibly to put fucking elevators for the seniors and the elderly. So I want to see those conditions added to the upper and lower ADA parking structures there. No offense, the guy owned the land for many years, and 4 years being vacant, I'm sure he saved a lot of money paying taxes on that run-down shit corner there caused by you shitholes because you don't care about housing. But I'm like everyone else. I support Honda. Although I never drove a Honda, my first vehicle was a Mitsubishi. I drove it to hell and back, 300,000 miles, and it worked. Now I got a piece of shit Dodge made in America, built in Mexico, because you fucking wetbacks up there can't make good sounding decisions. Yeah, Junior, I got your attention. I did make a reference to wetbacks, because that's the reason why we need more jobs. So we can have Honda in conjunction to automobiles bring us wetbacks to work in Downey, like myself. I need a job. All I do is participate in public hearings. All I do is go to meetings, and I tell the governor of the state, fuck you, 42 USC 1983, we need goddamn jobs. And Honda is bringing jobs, motherfucker. Reckon to fuck with the nigger like me? You got Nissan down the street on Firestone, you motherfuckers. And what did you give them a loan? Why can't you give Honda a loan and with no interest until he pays off the building and the construction of this goddamn Honda place over there? Why not? Has Nissan paid Downey back the money we loaned them, $1 million? I guess not, huh, dumbass? But I want Honda to get the same low interest, affordable loan so they can build the goddamn Honda and we can enjoy the body shop and the new parking in conjunction with the dealership. Because that's the kind of white nigger I am. Fuck Pelosi the bitch. Fuck her stupid nephew, Mr. Gavin Newsom, asshole, shithole, piece of shit, pencil neck governor. And as far as I'm concerned, I love America. Let's go back to work. Fuck you.
Public hearing is now closed. Does the planning staff have a recommendation?
Planning recommends approval of the attached resolution for PLN 21-00043, site plan review, conditional use permit, and variance.
Thank you. Now is the time for the Planning Commission to deliberate. Does the commission have any questions at this time, or would the commission like to discuss the item? Vice Chair?
Just a comment. Welcome to a great city. I apologize for our audience, but I appreciate the partnership that you're bringing to Downey. Thank you.
Commissioner Uva, please.
No comments.
Commissioner Duarte?
Oh, the renderings look great. I'm excited to have them here.
Me as well. Be a wonderful improvement to a too long vacant site. Thank you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to pass PLN-21-00043.
Second.
So it has been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary, could you please set us up for the vote? Thank you.
The motion passes 4-0 to approve PLN 22-00043 for a site plan review, conditional use permit, and variance application. Thank you.
Thank you. The action of the Planning Commission will be final unless the matter is appealed to the City Council with the appropriate fee within the next 15-day period as set forth in the city's municipal code. At this time is the non-agenda public comment. The portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for the public to address the Planning Commission on non-agenda, consent, and other business items within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission and not listed on the agenda. It is requested but not required that you state your name, address, subject matter upon which you wish to speak. Please limit your comments for non-agenda items to no more than 4 minutes. Pursuant to the Brown Act, no discussion or action other than a brief response, referral to the city planning staff, or schedule for a subsequent agenda shall be taken by the Planning Commission on any issue brought forth under this section. Anyone want to rise to speak?
Yes, you don't apologize for me up there, Commissioner District 5. You can apologize for yourself. I am an unabashed capitalist, and I think it's a good thing. I really do. But I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of everybody in this room, just about everybody in this room. And I am, it's just ridiculous to sit and listen to this crap from these liberal Democrats on their Democratic Party plantation. It's absurd. There's nothing wrong with creating business and progressing. But if you want to go back to the 16th century, we can go ahead and worry about royalty and the English throne and the European feudal system. That's what the liberal Democrat Party plantation is. White liberal elitists looking down their nose on the rest of us. Like the gentleman said, we need jobs. We want jobs. But you don't create jobs by turning off the energy. You don't create jobs by having more regulations, more taxes. We need a break from this stuff. We need a break from you guys too. You need to step up and start doing things in a reasonable manner. You did everything good tonight. Everything good tonight. Except maybe the historical things. But, those are hard things to deal with. But the idea is that when you lower taxation, you create more opportunities for people to expand, to invest, to create jobs. And then when you create jobs, they go out and spend stuff, their money. And then we get more tax revenue that way, but we have fewer regulations and more freedom. You don't get that when you start adding all these regulations on the things. Now, I thought they were just going to transfer all of their materials over from the lot to the new one, and that they were going to leave that a vacant lot, but obviously that wasn't the case. Good on you. Good on you. In that case, I just thought, well, if you can accommodate somebody to come over to a new lot and make it better, why can't you do that also with Tacos Don Goyos for those people in that neighborhood? Can't we accommodate that gentleman to move his business to another vacant store in a reasonable fashion and leave the residents alone? It's ridiculous. They don't sign on to buy a house in Downey to put up with the crap that goes with that. And it's a public nuisance to them. And somebody approved everything to allow it to continue. Give the guy his chance to move his facility and to sell his product. I'm not sitting here as a conservative denying him the right to sell his product. Just let him do it in a reasonable fashion where he can have parking stalls and a bathroom. Instead of, torturing those people in that neighborhood over there. That is a public nuisance. It can be done. If you can do what you did tonight, you can do that for those people over there. You can do that for them. Thank you.
That's a hell of a good point. That's a fucking great point.
Mike Greenspan, and I'm back. And now, there are a few things that happened tonight. Well, we're going to have a lot more pollution and a lot more, smog. I can't breathe. All this smog. Well, let's add to it the freeway smog. And let's add to it the 18-wheelers. And then, of course, let's project ourselves to 2035. Suddenly, it's going to be a used car lot because we can't have any new fossil fuel cars in California for sale. So we're going to have electric cars, liberal, democratic, politically correct stuff. There won't be money for for the highways because they won't be selling gasoline. We are very dependent on the gas tax for our highway system in this state. In fact, there's a mall in West Covina, and it shows Highway 99 as it became Interstate 10, and it said in the picture, your gas tax funds. Well, those are going to disappear with the Honda place and all the others in 2035. And the people are going to have light pollution, increased traffic, everything else. Well, who cares? After all, I'm sure you've gotten those envelopes stuffed with cash. A la the way Alatorre got his from Metro. He got $100 bills stuffed in his pocket before the, excuse me, that was the Rapid Transit District before it became Metro. And then the guy, the wetback, didn't want to go to prison. Well. Well, the best thing for him would have been going to prison for income tax evasion. That would teach a lot of you folks not to be taking those bribes. And then, of course, the Englander type. Well, you catered to him and Reverend Jimmy Swaggart with the masseuse place. A nice place to go, basically, to get a nut for the guys. And right here in beautiful downtown Downey. And you're the people that gave us the taco place that imposes on the neighborhood. Yes, this planning commission. And what else did you give us? Well, maybe I can go out to Denny's across the street. Oops, can't do that. It's been torn down. What's going to be there? Ojos Locos, a boobs and beaver bar with underage children serving liquor. Who knows what else they'll be doing over there? Probably selling some pussy, I guess. Maybe they can go to the massage place and get a better deal instead of selling it over there in the parking lot or in the bar of Ojos Locos. That thing could have been prevented. But what's the old saying? Money talks, bullshit walks. And the money did a lot of talking there. Some wetbag with a lot of money bought his way into Downey. That's just what we need, isn't it? Well, I could talk for 10 minutes on your fucked up planning and land use, but you only give me 4. And Englander only needed, I guess, 3 with that escort masseuse. Thank you.
Well, here's the new Ojo Loco. Me to talk about all the crazy shit that happens here. You know why I talk about crazy shit about here and there and everywhere else? Because tonight there's a debate between Alex Villan, who is under the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, on record as a quote from Armando Herman. It also helps us understand emerging trends and topics. Now, what does this mean? You know what it means? It means I sent it to Sheila Kuehl and the Board of Supervisors because this report, number 183397 MWL, is saying that the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division is going to investigate the sheriffs. And I'm not going to get into that shit. But isn't that great news? Now, we also heard about what Wayne Spindler said when he tried to email his public comment, which I'll read on his behalf. Mr. Spindler, on the record. I see you don't read these out loud anymore, Mommy Blanca. Fuck you. Wow. Next one. Public hearing item 1. Moo, moo, moo. These developers, I suspect, are greedy fat fuck Jews. Well, let me add that. Honda usually eat pork and drive on Saturdays. Moo, moo, moo. So you hear that, folks? The residents of Downey, the minority poor black, minority poor wetbacks, or I'll use the fancy term Hispanics, don't have housing. And in 2023, there'll be the next generation of homeless families living on our streets, begging for assistance. I know what it's like to beg for assistance, everybody. I one time too was in a situation of being homeless, but I got my shit together, 42 USC 1983, and I said, fuck you. And why? Let me read into the record, because some of you are so intelligent. Usted debe de tener por lo menos un ciudadano americano o un residente permanente legal en un su hogar. Usted puede aplicar al programa de CalFresh. Aquí usted tenga un ejemplo tiempo completo de la medio tiempo. Well, fuck you. Fuck you. You hear that? Fuck you. We don't need cars. We don't need Mercedes. We don't need Acuras. We don't need Volvos. We don't need a Porsche to be a show-off little bitch. All we need is to be fair across the board. Not like Gavin Newsom, pencil neck governor, suck cock. Let's bring them to the sanctuary cities. Send them over, Florida. Send them over, Texas. We will accept all the illegal wetbacks because this is what California is about. Janice Hahn, open up the borders. Let's support Mr. Patrick Owens' belief in America. Let's house more illegal wetbacks. Right, Mr. Owens? Because you're not interested in housing. You could have put housing off that 5 freeway. Instead, you fucked up Downey. Thank you politely, gentlemen and women, tonight. Politely.
Next on the agenda, the consent calendar. Seeing none, does the interim community development director have any additional comments?
No comments tonight.
At this time, we'll adjourn the meeting until the next date scheduled.